This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Now, Anthony Joshua has said that he can't please everybody. It doesn't matter what he does. If he was to fight whoever it is that people want, there'll still be a section of people unhappy. Some people are just out to wake up each morning, look in the newspaper or look online, whatever it is that they do before their eyes are even fully awake, to try and find something to hate on Joshua or Eddie Hearn. They just have this deep hatred in their heart. Anyway, Anthony Joshua has said this: I can't please everyone anymore, so I get that, and that's part of my game now. I'm having fun with it. I did 16 fights and went for a world title, 3 years an amateur, and went and won the Olympics, unified the heavyweight division, and it's still not good enough. Either I can get stronger from it or I get drained by it. I think I'm getting stronger from it as it builds a thicker skin. Get behind me as a person rather than a boxer. If you support me as a person for life. But if you're with me just for boxing, when it's going good, you'll be there. If it's bad, then obviously you won't be. So that is Anthony Joshua's statement. He does go on about the potential next opponent being Wilder, Fury or whoever for April 13th. But we're not going to get into that one. We've covered those kind of ones to death. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what Joshua does, there's going to be a section of people out there who will criticise. It's like, exactly as he says, you know, he was only amateur for 3 years. He didn't have, 43 fights I think he had, and won the Olympic gold. In his 16th fight, he became world champion by beating Charles Martin. In the fight before that, even the 15, he stepped up and fought Dylan White. Dylan White is currently number 1 in the WBC, avoided by the WBC heavyweight champion, right? Very avoided by him. So Joshua, he defeats Dylan White, then he becomes IBF world champion, and then he defends it against another undefeated in Dominic Brazil, who is the mandatory for the WBC as well, and he also defeats Vladimir Klitschko, a Hall of Famer, 10-year reigning unified heavyweight champion, and that's still not good enough. He defends it against his mandatory in Carlos Takam, was supposed to have been Pulev to start with, and he also says, right after this one, I'm going to fight Luis Ortiz, who's my WBA mandatory. Luis Ortiz decided to fight Wilder instead. So, again, it's not good enough. He then unifies again against Joseph Parker, and it's still not good enough. And now he's going to take on another mandatory in Alexander Povetkin, who has a stellar resume. Former world champion, only lost one time to Vladimir Klitschko after Vladimir Klitschko, let's be honest, was using some real dirty tactics in that fight. But even then, he still couldn't stop Povetkin. But yet people think that Joshua's going to walk through Povetkin. I hope you're right, but I'm not seeing it. I'm really not. I believe Joshua's going to win, but I don't think he's going to stop him so early or as easy as people say. But as I said, I'm hoping to be wrong on that one. So again, it doesn't matter what it is that he does, it's not good enough. But yet the same people who are saying that are Tyson Fury fans. Okay, Tyson Fury beat Vladimir Klitschko. Okay, fine. But then got stripped of the IBF world title for refusing to fight Glasgow, because he was going to give Vladimir Klitschko a rematch, even though he was the mandatory for Vladimir Klitschko, and so therefore there should have been no rematch. But then again, he kind of like went a little bit mad and went off the rails and ended up having to vacate or strip his titles. So Joshua has to go on and collect them all one at a time. Tyson Fury beat one person. Anthony Joshua beat the same person plus others to become unified champion. But yet, what Tyson done was great. What Joshua done is not enough. I don't understand it. Listen, I'm proud of Tyson Fury for what he done, but you know, let's be real. Joshua has beaten multiple people to get to where he is. He is the face of boxing. He is the cash cow. And the Deontay Wilder fans, who have been giving Wilder a pass from the very beginning of his career right up to now, 40 fights. 40. He's not a unified champion. Never even tried to unify. Not once. He could have fought Charles Martin to unify, but he didn't. Charles Martin was in the Al Heyman PBC stable. The same stable as Deontay Wilder, but they didn't make the fight. They didn't want to pay Charles Martin the $5 million. They didn't want to do it. Against Joseph Parker, he didn't want to have to pay Parker $5 million. But yet suddenly they got $50 million for Joshua. And where'd that $50 million come from? Oh yeah, Frank Warren to fight on a network on BT Sport that Anthony Joshua cannot fight on because it's a voluntary. If it was a mandatory, and he lost the purse bid, yes, he would have no choice but to fight on BT. But Wilder's team knew that. But yet, Wilder's trying to make these fights, yet Wilder accepted all the terms after weeks and weeks and weeks. He finally accepted $15 million. Oh, you pauper. And he called it crackhead money. 15 million, crackhead money, really? And he agrees to, oh, well, I'm not going to sign for Anthony Joshua for undisputed, even though it's always been about legacy and never about money, right? But I'm not going to fight Anthony Joshua because there's no date and venue in it. Even though it's going to be at the Principality Stadium, Cardiff, Wales, right? And it was either going to be in the very last week of October or the first week of November. You knew that. But yet no date and venue. And his same fans give him a pass. Yeah, Wilder, he shouldn't have to fight Joshua. He shouldn't have to. No date and venue. Who signs contracts with no date and venue? I'll tell you who. Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury sign contracts with no date and venue is what they do. Two-facedness. So everybody who gives Joshua critiques and say that he's a paper champion, he ain't done nothing. Look at the guy that you support and say what it is that he's done better. Wilder, he wants to fight. No, he don't. He had a damn contract and didn't sign it. What are you talking about? He could have fought Parker, but he didn't want to do it. He could have fought Charles Martin. He didn't want to do it. He could have fought Joshua this time. He didn't want to do it. He could have fought Joshua before Joshua took on Parker instead. But no, he didn't want to do it because he's saying 50-50 or no fight. He's taken 40 fights, never stepped up, but yet Joshua gets criticised? Really? Really? If you guys had an American champion who done what Joshua done in 21 fights, plus an Olympic gold, you guys would be high all over him. You really would be. He's the best. And if Wilder was British, look what Wilder's done. He ain't done nothing. But because he's one of your own, you make excuses for him. Come on now. Come on. Be real. Anyway, that's Anthony Joshua's statement. You drop your thoughts below, click that thumbs up and subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.